I spend a lot of time talking about all of the bullish reasons, all of the good things that I see in Palantir as an investment and as a company. But of course, no investment is without its risk. Any company has its potential downsides as well. And I think when it comes to making an investment, you have to look at all of your options and you have to see which of those companies actually have more potential and more plus sides that actually outweigh any potential risks. And that's exactly what I've done in my own portfolio. Having said that though, I think it's always really important to continually question yourself and continue to ask yourself whether your money is best served in the investments that you've put it in. And that means actually looking at potential downsides and risks to the companies that you are buying a piece of by being an investor. And I've seen some comments suggesting that I make a video like this, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. I'm going to share with you 4 or so potential risks that I see in Palantir. I think this first one is a pretty standard potential risk of any company. Now, of course, there are some companies that have less of this than others do, but it is, of course, competition. Palantir are operating in quite a new and upcoming industry, data analytics and artificial intelligence. There will be a lot of competition that comes Palantir's way. There will be competition from already established companies, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And there will, of course, be competition from companies, startup companies that we haven't even heard about yet. And they could come in and they could steal some of the market share from Palantir. They might be able to offer better products, maybe cheaper products, maybe products and pieces of software that are way more efficient and effective than what Palantir are currently offering. Maybe they will even be willing to sell to anyone. This is a key way that Palantir are actually different to a lot of other companies. Alex Karp has said himself that they are making platforms, they are making software that is so powerful that they don't even know if they should sell it or sell it to anyone. And we know with Alex Karp and Palantir, they are very much willing to be picky as to which government organizations and which even commercial businesses they are actually willing to sell their product to. But of course, competitors may come along and not actually think like that and be willing to sell it to everyone, meaning they can grab more market share. But what I would say on this point is that although Palantir are a new company in terms of a new public company, they haven't been public for very long, they have still been in the game for about 20 years. So when we see upcoming companies or established companies starting to compete with Palantir, I think that it's still safe to say that Palantir are way ahead of the game. They have been doing this for a very long time and they've already learned all of the hard lessons that they needed to learn. Now, of course, in recent months, it has come to light that Microsoft may actually be quite a competitor to Palantir. In October, they announced Microsoft Fabric. And here's what they had to say about it. As part of Microsoft Cloud for Healthcare today, we are announcing the preview of healthcare data solutions in Microsoft Fabric. This tailored offering enables healthcare organizations to break down data silos and harmonize their disparate healthcare data in a single unified store where analytics and AI workloads can operate at scale. Leveraging the native capabilities of the platform, healthcare organizations can create connected experiences at each point of care, empower their workforce, and unlock value from clinical and operational data. With Microsoft Cloud for Healthcare, your organization can accelerate time to value using healthcare data solutions in Microsoft Fabric to unify your data at every layer. One copy of data in the lake, one product experience for collaboration, governance, and the unification of the business model to ensure resources are cost optimized. I'll leave the link to this article that I'm seeing this from in the description below. But that definitely does sound like there are some similarities between what Palantir are offering to the healthcare industry as well. I think I have quite a balanced view as to whether or not Microsoft Fabric is actually a direct competitor to Palantir. So I think the first thing to say is that obviously Microsoft are a massive, massive company. They already have a name for themselves and they are already known and trusted. They have that sense of familiarity with their customers. And not only with their customers, but with anyone worldwide. Everyone knows who Microsoft are. They also, of course, have a lot of funds. This means that they may be able to completely undercut Palantir's price points. They could offer a product way cheaper and they could sell it at scale because they've already got that name. It would be quite easy, I imagine, for a company like Microsoft to be able to sell a product. Of course, the product has to be good and the customer value has to be there. Otherwise, people will not review it very well and, all of that stuff. But just generally speaking, Palantir aren't really a known name yet, whereas Microsoft are. So that is a real, a point that could be quite a point of difficulty for Palantir. What I'm trying to say here is that Microsoft do have this scale and the distribution. So they've got the framework to really make this work. However, I don't think that this is truly a direct competitor for Palantir at this stage in time. Microsoft are still in early days of development. They are still trialing this, and at the moment, as far as I'm aware, they are trialing this in 3 healthcare organizations, and they are in the stage of actually moving the data into the systems, and the implementation seems to be pretty slow. So what I would say right now is that Microsoft have a much more inferior product compared to Palantir. But remember, the market can be shared within the healthcare sector or any other sector. There is room for more than one company. Now, I do think that Palantir will be the company in the future that have most of that market share, the majority market share, because I think what they are doing is so valuable unless we see competitors come up in the future. Right now, I don't think that Microsoft Fabric is there ready to compete with Palantir, but we're going to have to see what happens with their developments and how they get on, obviously. But please remember just how valuable they are proven in the healthcare sector already. They are working with so many organizations in this sector. It's the sector that they're really dominating in, and of course they have just been awarded that NHS contract. So although Microsoft are a massive player, they have the scalability, they could undercut Palantir's price, obviously. I don't think this is a concern right now. But what it does do is it highlights the importance of Palantir staying that little bit ahead of all competition, which I think they're doing perfectly right now. It highlights that there will be competitors that come and go. And it's important for Palantir to just focus on getting as many contracts as they possibly can, getting their net retention up, and just showing their worth with their clients. And remember, at the moment, AIP is not monetized, which feeds into all of this, but we will talk about AIP in just a minute. The next potential risk is their government dependency, which could then impact their revenue growth. Palantir have 2 sort of business streams. They serve 2 different sectors. So they have their commercial side of the business, and then they have their government side of the business. At the moment, the government side of the business is accounting for and it is responsible for more of their revenue overall. So we saw in the Q3 earnings that the government revenue is currently sitting at $308 million, whereas the commercial side of the business is coming in at $251 million. So you can see that the commercial side is definitely catching up, but there is still more reliance, if you will, on the government side. And I think you could argue this is a little bit of a risk in terms of diversification of the revenue, but also this whole idea of there's only going to be so many government organizations out there that Palantir are willing to and can actually work with. So there's a point of saturation, I guess, whereas with the commercial side, the total addressable market seems and feels a lot more infinite and limitless. Having said that though, the government contracts are absolutely huge. There is a lot of money in them and they last a very long time, and they're of course very, very sticky. So although the government revenue is a lot more stable, there is also slower revenue growth. I'm not too concerned about this because we are seeing the growth in the commercial side, and I do think that it comes with the territory of the government area being quite slow but being quite stable and having quite large contracts. So as long as we see growth in both of those over time, I'm pretty happy with that. But let me know what you think about that in the comments below. The next one is the one that a lot of Wall Street analysts will pick up on. And I think it is the one that most investors and most people are very split on. It's quite a controversial one. And that is that AIP, Artificial Intelligence Platform, which is their newest offering. It only got released earlier this year, so it's still very, very new. It is not yet monetized. At the moment, what Palantir are doing is they are holding these boot camps. They are allowing businesses to come to these boot camps, get hands-on keyboard experience, 0 to 5 days. They don't spend very long at these boot camps, and they walk away with a use case for AIP in their own business. They then take that information to the people in charge at their organization, and they sort of say to them people, we need AIP in our business. Hopefully, what happens alongside that is they upsell Foundry, and they need Foundry to actually use AIP to the best of its ability, and they make money that way. But AIP itself is not actually monetized. So Palantir are taking the decision and the route of actually showing the value, getting a lot of customers on board with it as soon as possible, building up that client base. And then at some point in the future, the plan is to actually monetize AIP. We don't have the information of what that pricing model, what that strategy will look like, or when that will happen. For a lot of Wall Street analysts and even some retail investors out there, this doesn't sit well with them. They would argue that if you've got a product that is very good, why are you not putting a price tag on that product? So there really is pros and cons for this go-to-market strategy and this monetization strategy that Palantir are actually undertaking with AIP. But AIP is doing its job. It is the point of access for a lot of people. It is the way that they are growing their client base, because it is something that they are offering to businesses that change the way the business runs. It can either help make better decisions in terms of boosting a top line of a business, or it can help make better decisions, see your data better for maybe saving lives in the healthcare sector. It does change businesses. They have a product that is really, really valuable, and the commercial side of Palantir, the commercial potential clients really, really want this. But we are all waiting to hear how they will monetize it. And that's the information that we don't have yet. So that's the risk here, whether or not they actually monetize AIP effectively. When they do that, how they do that, how many clients will they retain when they do that? In my opinion, I think the value is too strong for clients just to turn their back and walk away when Palantir put a price tag on this. That's my opinion. But this could definitely be a risk if they don't do this well. And like we said, Palantir is quite an unknown company right now. They don't have the biggest staff base, the most resources. They don't have the name for themselves already. So actually scaling a product is something that they've struggled with in the past. I think their new strategy of AIP boot camps and everything they're doing at the moment is working, and that is how they will scale and sell AIP. But again, that is a potential risk if we don't continue to see the scalability, if we don't continue to see client growth and demand for AIP. And the demand's one thing, but then they've got to actually transfer the potential demand into clients. So we'll keep a close eye on this one, of course, but you could argue that that is definitely a risk. The last one that I'm going to give you today is perhaps a little bit of an odd one. But I do definitely think with a business like Palantir, it could be seen as a risk by some. And that is that they could end up losing partnerships due to their political stance. Now, Palantir definitely haven't shied away. They are not a company that likes to keep quiet and keep silent on difficult or potentially controversial issues. They have made it very clear that they will stand with particular countries and they will supply their software to help those countries. Of course, when you've got a company that has made it very clear and does speak their mind, they are going to not work with some organizations. They are going to not work with some organizations that maybe have a different viewpoint. They're going to not work with some governments that don't align with their values. And you know what? I think that's okay. But it does obviously mean that their potential market is that ever so slightly bit smaller. However, I don't think that they would have this any other way. Alex Karp, like we were saying earlier in this video, he is very, very clear that he will not sell his software. He will not sell these products to people that he doesn't want this powerful technology getting into the hands of. And actually, I think that's a good thing for all of us. So although this is a potential risk in terms of revenue growth and things like that, in my opinion, it's such a insignificant point, but I did want to raise it because I do definitely feel that a company like Palantir does obviously have this risk. But again, if you want to carry on all of this conversation, come and join the Patreon. We can chat on Discord all about this. I want to hear your thoughts. I do see a lot of people say that their biggest risk is just not buying enough shares, and that is a great point. I want obviously more shares of this company. But yeah, let's actually make this a really balanced argument. We know all of the pros to Palantir. We're obviously very bullish on Palantir, but we also need to think about the potential risks. So let me know yours in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one very, very soon.